I think that short clip right there is all it took to get most every gamer insanely hyped for this game. The game, it's called Blight Survival. It comes from Hayner Studios, a indie developer that no one's ever heard of until they dropped one of the best video game trailers that I've ever seen. And I'm going to keep that trailer running in the background for a little while in case any of you guys actually live in a real zombie apocalypse and haven't seen the trailer yet. And now this game, it did look a little bit too good to be true. A trailer this good coming from out of absolutely nowhere, it kind of screams the day before vibes, but I like to be an optimist, and the developers have been slowly releasing more information and sneak peeks into the actual gameplay. So today we're going to briefly go over what Blight Survival is, and then take a look at the new systems the developers have shown us. Blight Survival takes place in a fictional medieval world riddled with war and now plague. Your job is to fend off other human factions, kill zombies, and vanquish the all-consuming Blight. I don't care if this story sounds cliche, knights and zombies, I am all in. The game will take place on a large map between two warring kingdoms, and it's an extraction light, meaning you enter the map, gather loot, complete missions, and if you survive, you get to keep all of your progress. However, push a little too far into no man's land and get your dumbass killed, and you come back empty-handed. The game's not planned to be a PvP game, but co-op is going to be an integral and essential part of the gameplay loop. From the trailer, we got to see a bunch of different forms of gameplay that reminds me of some sort of hybrid of Assassin's Creed and For Honor. Now, we of course have our basic melee combat where we use combination attacks with our sword, but we also saw ranged combat in the form of archery and even stealth takedowns with our trusty dagger. Now, some of you will say there's absolutely nothing realistic about crawling around silently in full plate armor. And you're right, but who gives a shit because it looks absolutely amazing. And while this is what we saw in just the trailer, I think combat is a good place for us to start talking about the more recent information the developers have released. The devs did a 1-minute dive into the melee combat, and they gave us some information, but we can also pick out some information from what we see. First of all, the attacks will be directional based, so you'll have 5 attacks including stabs, and you'll perform these attacks in a set order to perform combinations. As you progress, you unlock new combination attacks. Just from this information, expect more Jedi Fallen Order style combat than Mordhau or Chivalry. The developers also did say you want to be calculated on using your attack directions so that you can take advantage of your opponent's weak spots. So hopefully this is something that brings depth to the combat as opposed to just mashing buttons. Now from the video, we also do see a kick attack and a backwards dodge. Special thank you to the developers for not adding full plate armor dodge rolling. I absolutely fucking hate dodge rolling in games, so big thumbs up for not putting that in. Now, on the topic of combat, there's a weapons collision feature in the game, and this seems to be another form of punishing players for swinging mindlessly. As you can see, a huge impact in these clips when the player hits the terrain. It seems like the impact will be crippling and allow enemies to land a free hit. So stabs and overheads in tight quarters, boys. Now, moving away from combat, we also got a glimpse of the lockpicking mechanics, and god, lockpicking, it can just be so infuriating in games. Hogwarts Legacy, I just switch that shit to story mode whenever I have to pick a lock because it's just beyond boring and frustrating. But it looks like they're going with a more realistic feeling approach of actually showing you your picks and having them spin, then put you into some stupid-ass minigame. Ultimately, lockpicking, it's not a feature that will make or break the game for me, but I'm happy with how it looks. It seems like the attention to detail by the developers is really extreme in all aspects that we've seen so far of the game. The devs have also given us a dive into the enemies or zombies we're going to see in the game. They showed us a bunch of different variations, which I'm going to assume fight differently, and they also showed us their design process for making them. Having enemy variety in a game where you continuously have to go into raids and extract and do it all over again is so important so that it doesn't become just tiresome to fight the same mobs over and over and over again. You know, it gets a little repetitive. So hopefully there's going to be a ton of different enemies in the game. And now this last system might be what has me most excited, and it's the Locomotion system. In a lot of games, if something's in the character's way, they just run into it with no physics. If there's a crate you need to duck under, your character just mindlessly runs into the crate with their head until you manually duck. What we see from this clip, and we even saw it quite a bit in the trailer, is there's a locomotion system in the game where your character will move his head out of the way from objects above him. If this system can be expanded to many different scenarios, it adds so much immersion to the gameplay. I mean, in my game Chivalry 2, how often do I bitch and moan about getting stuck on a pebble that's about 2 inches big that any human could walk over, and here is my character stuck on the damn pebble. So having this locomotion system where your character is smart enough to do things that most humans would, it's just huge. Alright guys, I hope the video was informative and most important, shows us all that there is a game being worked on that at some point we're going to get our hands on, and I think the potential of this game looks absolutely off the chart, but who knows? Let me know down below, is there any medieval game coming in 2024 that you're more excited for than Blight Survival? Alright guys, that's it for me. If you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. Champ out.